Agency in Motion Continuing Education Series. This is a series specifically designed for like agents, producers, advisors, agency builders in the financial services industry. Today, what we're talking about is strategies for success in the new environment, not necessarily for you as the partner, but how do you take on this new environment and how do you go into the marketplace and how do you talk to people about the changes and what they need to do to find success and not be lumped into the masses, which are going to get run over in this new economy. So what are the strategies for success in the new environment? Well, we've touched upon this before, but I just want to open with this because when you're talking to people, one of the things that people will always understand and be able to talk to you about is changes they've seen during their lifetime. Because, when you look at your grandparents, your great-grandparents, we grew up hearing go to college, get a good job, buy a house, pay off the mortgage as soon as possible, save a little each month, you'll be set for life. Well, that worked for a period of time. However, that worked only when that was solid advice for our past generations because they lived in the same house for their entire life. How many people do that now? Not very many. They had their one job for their entire life. Once again, we job hop, we do a lot of things differently now. They lived on one income. It's almost imperative now that we need two incomes just to survive. They retired with a pension. How many people have pensions nowadays? Not very many. The people with pensions, they're not in control of that. Remember, you always seeing, a few years ago, Sears dramatically reduced their pension. So even if you do have a pension, it could be on the chopping block. They had no credit card debt. They saved a little money consistently, and they could count on Social Security. So when you look at that list and you talk to people about, hey, is this stuff still in existence? Are we still living that same paradigm in terms of the life cycle? We're not. And they planned on being retired for only a few years. We've got people now that are retired for decades. So what you need to understand is what worked in the past because it was the past. We need to understand that our life has changed. Today, we'll move 4 to 6 times. We'll have 3 to 7 jobs in our lifetime. We'll need those two incomes just to live and survive. We'll never have a pension unless we design it for ourselves. We're struggling with credit card debt. We save very little money, and we worry about Social Security being there, and with good reason, right? And we're going to be retired for decades. So what happened in the past, or what worked in the past, worked because it was the past. What we need to understand is going forward, life has dramatically changed, from a macroeconomic environment down to micro needs that we have in our own life. So we have to understand that it's a new pathway. It's uncharted, trails. We are the trailblazers. We're the advisors. We're the educators. We need to teach people that although the environment has changed, you can still find success if you replace that bad information with good information. You make the right decisions and action steps that create that control and peace of mind versus just drifting and getting run over by this new economy. Essentially, what you're teaching people is how to get ahead, how to create those desired end outcomes and those strategies for success in the new environment. When everybody's trying to push a block, you're pushing a wheel. So you're understanding that so many people are struggling in this environment because they don't have the right information. And with the wrong information, they're making the wrong moves in the action steps. You step in to help people figure out what to do. Remember, there are rules of money that you need to know, and the way they've changed, the old rules, you could work hard. You've got to work smart now. In the past, they just saved their money. You need to save money to actually invest and buy assets. Their whole purpose was to get out of debt. Our purpose is to get out of bad debt so we can take on good debt. They invested for the long term. We invest for the short and the long term, knowing there's more market dislocations that happen. They diversified their money into paper portfolio of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. That was pretty easy for them. We need to diversify our money into investment portfolio of paper, businesses, and real estate. So the old rules of money have changed. The new rules of money have to be digested, understood, and incorporated into the plan of action that they have. So are they going to stick with the old rules and get run over? Or are they going to adapt to the new rules? You have to understand, you have to place yourself in the marketplace as not a salesperson or an agent, but a trusted advisor that can help people create strategies to get them to desired end outcomes. One of the things that I think is a real misconception still in our environment is that retirement is an age. Retirement's not an age, guys. It's a financial condition. And once people understand that, it's a lot easier to start to map out and get excited about trying to create a retirement plan that incorporates that we still have life to live, that we don't get to retirement, we're all broken down physically and mentally, and we can't do anything. So we need to help create a retirement success playbook that incorporates these strategies for the new environment. And really what you're helping people understand is they're putting pieces of the pie together. Their money used correctly can create diversification, can create a portfolio of assets to create that passive income that allows them financial condition for retirement, which is once that standard of living, X, whatever it is, that price per month for your standard of living, when you can attain that with the income from your passive assets, that's financial freedom. That's the ability to retire. So when we're putting it together, we have to understand that there's going to be pitfalls, there's going to be roadblocks, there's going to be obstacles that people face. Your job is to help them overcome, alleviate, or preemptively overcome and alleviate as much as possible. Increase the cash flow, right? Not the active cash flow. We do that in order to save and invest in assets that create passive income, that create the financial condition where we can retire. During that time, we have to understand people are working hard for their money, but they're not putting their money to work hard for them. So if you're working harder for your money than your money's working for you, that's a problem. Too many people just leave their money out there. They don't put their money to work for them. And once again, if your money's not working for you, it's not going to get to the point where you can stop working for it. So you have to understand the value of your money, how hard you work for it, and then put it to work. So it's going to create that pathway to the freedoms that you desire. The high cost of waiting. The reason so many people attach retirement to an age is because they're not actively doing anything to create a retirement environment. So the high cost of waiting, one of the biggest rules, and the rules of yesterday, the rules of today, and the rules of tomorrow is always going to be pay yourself first. If you're not paying yourself, if you're not investing into your future, you're really not understanding how money works. So one of the strategies in the new environment is still a strategy in the old environment, which is pay yourself first. Out of the top line of that income, put money away, invest into your future, because there is the process of saving the money and the process of investing the money. If you're saving money just to save money, it's going to take you a very, very long time to get to the point of what we call the freedom number, which is that X, when it's created by and satisfied by the passive income. So you need to save your money in order to invest your money. And that's important. Don't save for the sake of saving, save for the purpose of investing and growing your money. And this happens with the cumulative effect of all of our little choices. So we're in an environment where we're getting squeezed. Inflation, we're paying more for goods and services, energy than we were before. Our debt servicing, it's costing us more on those variable and revolving credit. So we have to understand it's the cumulative effect of all of our little choices. Let's look at what this means, because in the new environment, we're spending $68 a month on something, and we can reduce that by 50%. It's what we call a spend save negotiation. So this is easy because you can go now, all of these streaming services that we have and all of these subscriptions that we have, we can look at it. If we're able to take a $68 spend save negotiation, 50% of that save $34 a month, at a 6% rate of return, guys, you're starting to stack up money. So it's the cumulative effects. And people think they have to make these huge lifestyle changes. And what we teach is, no, you can make little lifestyle changes, and the cumulative effect of that over X period of time will really put you in the driver's seat. If they use the strategy of being their own bank, this money invested into their money warehouse, and used as collateral to borrow the insurance company's money, that gives them a more leveraged strategy of spend save. What about if we have a bigger bill, $237 a month, and we're able to save 40% of that, or $95 a month? Once again, at a 6% average rate of return in 10, 20, 30 years, you're starting to stack money. So it's the combination of helping people understand that the system stacked against them on the debt side to keep the financial institutions rich and us poor. And on the other side, once you understand that, it's ways that you can create money to save and invest without dramatically changing your standard of living. And if you go a step further, if you have a bigger bill and you do a total spend save negotiation on a $300 bill, look at this, at a 6% rate of return over 10, 20, 30 years. So the understanding of the knowledge about what to do and why to do it, and then the execution of how to do it, working with a trusted advisor, which you should be positioning yourself as in the marketplace, gives you an opportunity to talk to people about their entire situation, not just selling them insurance or retirement products. There is a risk reward in everything that we choose, whether it's a spend save negotiation, whether it's investment that we put our money into. You have to understand that when you're actively putting money to work, you need to understand what are you putting that money to work in, and what are the possibilities of the risk and the rewards. First of all, market losses. And if you're trying to save to a desired end outcome of X, Y, or Z, whatever that number is, one of the things that you don't want is market losses. And you surely don't want market losses when you get to the retirement age or the distribution age, because that is going to throw a wrench into your whole standard of living. Digging a hole and digging out of a hole is not fun. So small losses are easy to recover compared to big drops. You can see here 8, 25, 30, 40, and 50% loss, what we need to gain to recover. Two of the most important things in the wealth accumulation is time and money. If you're losing both of those things at one time, it's not good. So understand where you're putting your money and the anticipated risk or the anticipated rewards that can be associated with that investment. Also, you need to understand if you're putting money into investments, and you need to understand, don't fight the Fed. So whatever the Fed's doing, you need to understand that impact on the market environment. And we're in a new environment right now where the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates 1,700% in 1 year. So one of the questions I ask when somebody has an advisor or somebody working with them on their money is, what have they advised you to do over the last year when the Federal Reserve has raised rates 1,700%? If you're fully invested 100% in the stock market and your advisor had asked you to do or recommend you do nothing, do you think that's a problem? They're getting paid to advise you. If their advice is just nothing, sit there and wait it out. Do you really need them at all? Because as interest rates rise and as the quantitative tightening takes place, where they're reducing their balance sheet of the Fed, you have to understand that reprices assets, it reprices stocks, it reprices bonds, it reprices real estate. And if you're just sitting there with the same strategy through no matter what environment that it is, that's problematic. You need to be flexible. You need to understand how these things affect investments and the asset environment. Because bull markets and bear markets, it's always a tug of war. And once again, if you're making money in a raging bull market, the only thing you got to do during those times is participate in the market. However, when environments change, your strategy needs to change. And as we have these market dislocations, we have these new environments where things are getting repriced, you need to understand it's going to be a tug of war. And during those market dislocations, if you're losing money, it becomes problematic because you're in the same situation everybody else is, digging yourselves out of holes constantly. And over a period of time, that strategy doesn't have much of a return. Remember, when people are talking about the market, past performance is no guarantee of a future performance. Are you prepared for, temporary downside, shocks in the market, corrections, crashes, bear markets? Because if you're not, what this new financial environment is going to usher in is volatility. And that volatility will create, like I said, temporary downside. So is somebody okay with waking up over a 30, 60-day period and losing 20 or 30% of their money? If they're not, they need to reevaluate where they are and what they're doing with their money. Are they okay with waking up one day and having, let's say, go back to 2001, 9/11, nobody predicted 9/11. It's a black swan event. So are they okay going forward and waking up if there was another 9/11, the market's closed for multiple days, and when it reopens, it's just down, 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 down? Are they okay having their money tied to a black swan event? If they're not, then they need to understand the consequences of what happens during those period of times and reevaluate their plan of action. And then also, they need to understand taxes. This is one of the biggest reasons, two reasons why people don't experience the standard of living and the retirement they were expecting. Number one is debt. Number two is they didn't understand their tax liabilities. You can look at the debt clock, you can look at the runaway train, you can see that taxes will have to be dramatically higher in the future. There's two tax systems in this country, one for the informed, one for the uninformed. Your job is to help create an environment where your clients become on the informed side and shield themselves from as much tax liability as possible, because when that tax bill comes due, doesn't matter how much you want or need that money, government's going to come to take it. And we just mentioned this. Another thing that we have to understand in this new financial environment, the strategies for success include, becoming debt free, or not becoming debt free for the sake of having no debt. We're talking about getting rid of the costly, toxic debt. And then if we want to, take on the good debt that pays us to hold it. Remember, as inflation is rising, you have to understand that in an ultra low cheap money, ultra low interest rate environment versus a rising rate and more expensive cost of money environment, what's happening here? Because that debt servicing, as interest rates rise on things like credit cards, variable revolving debt, that debt servicing becomes more. It costs more money to service the debt. So if we're already struggling, we have fixed income, we were living off our assets, and we've taken on this debt and it cost us more, we start to get squeezed. You throw in inflation from the other side on the goods and services and the energy that we buy, and you can see why not understanding obstacles, roadblocks, pitfalls in a particular plan, not evaluating the good, bad, or ugly that could potentially happen can really crush somebody. Another thing is to understand this new financial environment. There's so many scams out there. So you need to understand that if it's too good to be true, it probably is. If somebody can't explain to you exactly how something works, or they're not willing to put up the necessary information about them, their company, then you need to, walk away. And this affects seniors so much today, is because people target them to scam them out of their retirement money. We need to understand, when we want to access our money, can we access it? And once again, the success strategies for the new financial environment include understanding where our money is and how we access it, and what are the qualifications, and are we in control of that? Because 401ks and IRAs, they can raise the distribution age, the penalty age, all of these things to make it more expensive or to have to wait longer to access our money. So that's important. Another thing to consider is, if the leg of Social Security that you're anticipating going forward is a lot of your retirement income, or it takes up too much of the pie, and guess what? Just like the 401ks and IRAs, the government can, extend out the age, they can reduce the benefits, or if things blow up totally, these checks might stop in full. So understand, the less that you have control over, the less you actually are creating something for the long haul. So that peace of mind, that control, that plan of action that you have, you need to understand that when you're sitting down and talking to clients, that depending on what age they are, Social Security might not be there. It's not going to be there in this form. It could be changed in benefits, ages. So what I teach people is, Social Security is icing on the cake. If you get that, great. But if you're planning on it, and that's a big part of your retirement plan, you're going to be disappointed. And then one of the last things people need to understand, and one of the things they neglect, along with things like debt and taxes, is the need for long-term care. People ignore this. And once again, if long-term care is needed and long-term care has not been addressed in the financial plan, it's going to cause financial chaos. Most people don't have long-term care set up. Most of us will need long-term care. So think about the ramifications of what's going to happen when you don't have it in place and you need it. Long-term care is very, very expensive, guys. And then also, you need to, in this new environment, make sure that the documents are up to date. The last will and testament, the living trust, the advanced medical directive, the power of attorney, all of these things. Once again, if stuff's missing from the plan, then, the more stuff that's missing, the more holes there are, the more chances that we have that this just implodes on us. We're trying to create a rock solid foundation for retirement that stacked our money in places where we get safety, guarantees, we get interest, that we get all the things that we're looking for, that will create a rock solid plan of action that creates control, peace of mind, and a standard of living in retirement that carries along dignity and whatever else that you need. If you're traveling, whatever else that you want in your retirement, once again, having a plan of action and executing that plan of action gets us there. Having a plan of action with no execution doesn't get us there. And obviously no plan of action and no execution doesn't get us there as well. You need to create an environment for your clients so they understand how to get ahead. This is what people do to get ahead. This is what people that don't get ahead end up doing or not doing. Do you understand the differences and what you need to do? Lead them to the pathway of understanding about how money can be recycled, about how money makes money, and about how the assets they invest in should be cash flow driven, mean they get paid to hold them. That goes back to the rules of the bank. So remember, our business model, how we teach people to convert debt to wealth, is eliminating the bank's profit on the front side, replacing the bank on the back side. If you want to replace the bank and become the bank, adhere to their rules. They want cash flow. They want to earn interest. They want to use leverage. They love other people's money. They want their money back as fast as possible. They want to take guarantees, and they want low risk. So many people should learn from, and these are these are some of the examples I use because so many athletes, they have peak earnings. They make earnings for a period of years and they retire, or they get, booted out of the league, whatever, get hurt, and then they're broke within no periods of time. When we talk about guarantees, Bruce Sutter died, I think, last year, but he last pitched for the Braves, decades ago. He was still getting paid $1.12 million every year. Bobby Bonilla still getting paid, I think, $1.2 million. He hasn't played in many, many, many years. And then Ken Griffey Jr. was one that I just found out. He's going to be the fourth highest paid payer for the Cincinnati Reds this year. He's going to make $3.59 million thanks to the deferred payment agreement on his contract extension with the Reds in the year 2000. What are these things called? It's deferred comp, but this is guarantees, guys. Think that these guys with this money rolling in are thankful they had that deferred comp. Yes, so these are guarantees. You want to take guarantees to create a pathway to be able to enjoy your life. And no matter what life throws at you on a macro or a micro level, you've got answers for it to allow you to enjoy your life. And once you set yourself up, if you can create a surplus, now you can give back. You can help others, you can help yourself. And this is all about making sure that once we've taken care of ourselves, we can build it out a surplus to help give back and take care of others. This takes us out of that balancing or juggling act that most people are going to fail at. When you're just stacking things up and you don't really know what you're doing with a hope and a pray mentality, things are going to come crumbling down. And when they do, you're going to see the negative effects of it and understand that this was not the proper way to go about trying to create an undesired outcome. Once again, guys, in a new environment, you have to have new strategies. Some of those strategies still incorporate some of the old strategies, but it's very important in a new financial environment where financial wellness, whereas in the past, it was a nice to have item, it is a must have going forward or they're going to get run over. Position yourself in the market as not an insurance agent, not an insurance salesman, but as a trusted advisor who can help people create plans of action and execution that create desired end outcomes. Agency in motion, building, operating, and managing agencies in the 21st century.